What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a home edition of Morning Scone, presented by Brock, the Batters with Pew Clinic, Hutco Roofing, HutcoRoofing.com, Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com, and ProChargeEV.com. Okay, y'all, we'll say some good mornings here. LSU football was back on the practice field on Tuesday. Media got about an hour of viewing. We saw 2-minute offense right when we started. We got to see 2-minute offense. We got to see some positional drills. So we got to watch like offensive line against defensive line, some combo drills. We got to watch special teams. So they working on special teams pursuit drills, which Bob D, I am. It is early, but I'm willing to say that after a very short window, I am confident in saying we have seen. Remember, we had to watch practice last year too. We have seen LSU work more on special teams, more detailed on special teams this year than at any point of what we got to see last year. And the thing that I'd like to point out also is that it's not necessarily just guys, returners catching the ball out of a jugs or something. Like, they're actually running very intense drills for gunners and for blockers and for all that sort of stuff to function within special teams. So I think they'll be better. I don't know how you can be worse than they were a year ago. Then let's see. After that, we got to watch some 7-on-7 as well yesterday. Offensive line looks good, man. Golly, they look good. And I don't want to ever I'm always very cautious to say I don't like being critical of college athletes. I don't, because they're still college athletes. I don't even care. People, the NIL, but shut up. Like, they're especially young guys. So, but I know people always sort of gravitate toward the young, highly rated prospects and all that sort of stuff. And I'm gonna tell you, Deshaun Womack has had a little bit of a rough go early. He is having a tough time when these big offensive linemen get into his pads. So, he's playing the big end, like the defensive end spot opposite the jack. So he's like behind Savion Jones. So, finding another big end. Quincy Wiggins right now is running 2 behind Savion. Quincy Wiggins, at least in the drills we get to see, has not had the greatest success as well. Like, there's a pretty clear gap between Savion, who's your starter, and everybody else right there right now. So, another spot worth watching. Let's see, a couple things yesterday. Brian Thomas was back, but was not participating. Greg Brooks was back, not participating. Josh Williams was out there, but did not participate. Armani Goodwin took the first reps at running back yesterday. So that's like 3 long practices. We've seen 3 different running backs. So it was Josh Williams, Logan Diggs, and then yesterday was Armani Goodwin taking the first rep. The Malik Neighbors and Kyron Lacey, who both got ejected the day before for fighting, they were both back. Neighbors left with a trainer and returned. LaTerrence Welch left with a trainer, did not return. That seemed heat related. Like, he looked like he was about to puke. And let's see, anything else of note? I saw Kamora in Pimpton at one point, under a tent with a trainer. He's kind of getting a massage gun on his back, but just, loosen him up a little bit. But nothing seems too serious right now, which is really good. So, let's see. We'll say some good mornings here. Let's see what y'all got. Trivia Carter, good morning. Zach Swan, good morning. Marine Sniper 42, good morning. Cody Kibido, good morning. Any update on Montgomery from Stanford picking his transfer destination? Not that I've seen. And honestly, like truthfully, as we have gotten into as we've gotten into fall camp, I have paid less and less and less and less attention to the baseball transfer portal stuff. But I can make a call this morning and check it. So thank you for the follow up. But I will check. Devin Johnson, good morning. Let's see, how long have you been doing media journalism? Saw a few videos that dated 7-8 years. Did you start this career right after college? Devin, I started when I was in college, man. So this is my 17th season covering LSU, and I did news before I did sports. So my first radio job was May of 2003. So May was 20 years in radio for me, in media. So, but I've been doing AFR for 13 years, and I've been doing LSU, been covering sports here for 17 years. Let's see. Ricky Lambert, good morning. Matt Plavidal, good morning. Headed to work at 7:30, so I've been missing the lives. After my hours cut to 38, already at 46 4 days, got to catch up on LSU football. Yes, sir. Get caught up, man. It's almost here. It's a good time for everybody. Jesse Brown, good morning. Maddening that the Saints have not signed Barr. Hopefully they reconsider. No, it wasn't that, Jesse. Apparently Barr wanted to take other visits. The visit went well, but apparently he wanted to take other visits to be able to see what other options are there. So the Saints, the report from Diana Rossini was the Saints were going to sign Hunt and Barr. Well, later, the report came that Kareem Hunt, before he even started the Saints visit, got a call from the Colts offering him more money before he even made the visit with the Saints. So the Saints wanted to sign both players and may still sign both players, but they're going to see what options are out there. The disappointing thing at running back is, or with Hunt, is you look at what's going on in Indy right now. You got Jonathan Taylor who left. Jonathan Taylor wants a new deal. The Colts have told him no, and he left camp. So they don't have a running back. So that's certainly more dire straits for Indy than it is for New Orleans, where he can go to Indy and he has tremendous leverage. Not so much in New Orleans, where you drafted Kendra Miller and you signed Jamal Williams. So a little bit of a different scenario for sure. Peyton Morvant, what's up, Devin Johnson? From your experience, do you feel Brian Kelly practices are more intense than Miles and Coach O? I don't know if that's even a thing or all equals out. So you got to remember, even in a very short amount of time, even though it hasn't been that long, Les's era was a different era. There has been such a hyper focus on eliminating two-a-days, eliminating contact periods, right, due to head injuries, being mindful of weather and heat related issues. So Les's practices were more intense. There's that, and that was intentional by design. It's something that he thought was important. They started every practice with the big cat drill. It was about intensity, and he the unfortunate thing, and you saw this a lot, was because they were so intense and so heavy through camp and then never really let up. LSU's teams a lot of times did wear down by the time you got to the end of the season. O never found the perfect mix, how to balance. The team he inherited in 2016 was such a veteran team. So one of the first things he did was he just let off the gas at practice completely. Mondays were just basically 30-minute, just get out, walk through, stretch your legs. He a lot of times indoors. But he had a very veteran team. Remember that 2016 team? You had Fournette and Jamal Adams and Dupree. All those guys were juniors. Tre'Davious White was back as a senior. Posick was back as a senior. Kendall Beckwith was back as a senior. You had such a veteran team that he could do that. And he tried to do the same thing in 18, and it didn't work so great. He needed to tighten the rope a little bit. Then 19 obviously happened the way it did, and then the next 2 years were disaster. So he tried to balance, but never really found the perfect feel for it. I think what I say about Brian Kelly is the workouts aren't nearly as long, but man, they are efficient. Like, if they have 25-minute periods, in an hour while we're outside or something like that, or an hour and 20 minutes or so. I guess that wouldn't make sense. It would be like an hour and 40 minutes, whatever it is. It's like horn sounds to end, like they have a big clock on the field, right? So if it's a 5-minute period, the clock's running for that 5 minutes. And then as soon as the horn sounds, it's like you are sprinting to the next drill, the next field, the next station. There's just no wasted time out there. So they're much more efficient. I don't think there's any doubt about that. That would be my observation of watching a lot of practices. Now, what I will also say is Kelly's allowing us more access. So we never get to watch team periods or a lot of stuff like that under Les or Ed. Lucas Blanchard, what's going on? Cajun Fried Legator, what's going on? Good morning. Scott Fontenot, FSU fans are getting really mouthy this offseason. I can't wait to be in Orlando to see the Tigers come out strong. Ryan Solar, Tiger Diver, Tim Gotro, Reed Rule, what's going on? Saw the Saints are moving training camp next year. Any hunch on where they could end up? So, they're moving training camp because they're redoing the cafeteria in the Saints training facility. So they have to move because the training facility won't be ready. I don't know where they're going to go. I'm not sure. I know that when they were going up, I'd say they're not going to go back to the Greenbrier in West Virginia. They went up there, and the 3 years they went to the Greenbrier were the 3 years they went back to back to back 7 and 9. And so the Bensons, I think, kind of looked at it and was like, man, we're spending all this money for what? Like, the team is not better for coming here, because you're putting up, it's on like 24 days or something like that. So you're putting up your entire organization at that place for 24 days. Imagine the bill, food, lodging, everything. So, anyway. So I don't know where they're going to go. Weston Weaver, good morning. I know preseason rankings aren't the biggest deal, but how in the world does Bama get put in the top 5? I get it, their Bama roster ain't what it used to be. I think, Weston, here's the problem. So I would absolutely have Alabama in the top 5. You're comparing them to an Alabama standard, not the rest of college football standard. Who else would you put there instead of them? And like, if we look at, let's look at the 2023 blue chip ratio. So remember, this is the percentage of your roster that is 4 and 5 stars, okay? This year's blue chip ratio, number 1 in the country, blue chip ratio, the most players on their roster that are 4 and 5 stars. Alabama, 90%. Number 2, Ohio State at 85%. Number 3 is Georgia at 77%. So actually, Alabama has, by recruiting ranking standards, the most talented roster in college football still. So, yeah, I have no problem at all with Alabama being ranked in the top 5. And I think they're going to be a very good team. But you're judging them by Alabama standards, not by the rest of college football standards. Christopher Hedgeland, good morning. Jim Arsenault, Bubba Smith, Darren Reeves, Jason Horn, good morning. Kelly Gross, Chad Cornett. Good morning, Matt. Love the shoes. Thank you for it. Let's see. Oh, shows. Well, you could have said shoes, too. Sean Michael Habetz, good morning. If this was your team going into play, if this year's team was going into play last year's Florida State game, how would you feel? Yeah, much better. Much, much better. I felt like LSU was going to win last year, but sometimes your eyes deceive you. Like, what I mean is, you convince yourself, things aren't as bad as they seem, or you overlook very obvious things. For like when in hindsight you can look and go, yeah, that I understand now why I should have made that a bigger deal of that. For example, the offensive line. You know, they never settled their offensive line last year through fall camp. Remember, Garrett Dellinger was the starting center in the opener against Florida State. And if you remember this, the first offensive series of the season, LSU had the ball down inside the 10-yard line. It was like boom, boom. Jaden scrambles for 25 yards. They hit a deep ball to Kayshawn. Boom, 2 plays, you're in the red zone. They missed a pass to Kayshawn in the end zone. Kayshawn dropped it. Well, dropped it. It was contested, but he still should have caught it. How different that game would have been if he caught that ball. But remember, you had a goal-to-go situation, and Garrett Dellinger snapped the ball over Jaden Daniels' head. He retreated, had a fall on it, and I think they had the field goal blocked, or he missed it, whatever. So, point is, you don't have that question this year. Like, your offensive line not only is settled, it's a strength of the team. So but like how we didn't look back in hindsight and go, yeah, that line is going to be a problem, right? Barry Day, good morning. Brant Roban, do you think the Tigers will be 100% healthy by kickoff? Yeah, Brant, I don't think anybody's ever 100% after the season starts. Like, for example, like looking at J.K. Johnson with his foot on a scooter, those little kneeling scooters, I don't know that he's available. Now, they haven't told us what the injury is, and Brian Kelly is going to put out an injury report, but like, is it realistic to think that guy's going to be ready to go? Probably not. Not for the opener. So what's 100%, But, barring an unforeseen camp injury, so far, they've been really lucky. I remember asking Brian Kelly this. God, I can't believe this just hit me. I asked him, it was the first game week when they were playing Florida State. It was the Monday before the Florida State game. It was the first press conference of the year, of the season. And I asked him, I was like, because they really avoided major injury in camp last year. They just didn't have a major injury. They didn't lose any key players. And, a month of training camp and nobody got hurt. It was crazy. And I asked him that. And he basically kind of was like, knock on wood. I was like, have you ever had a camp like that in your coaching career that was this void of injury? And he basically was like, knock on wood. And then I kind of asked him also, to what do you attribute it? And he said, the preparation and the stretching and whatever, but, training staff, all this stuff you'd expect him to say. But, so I don't know, man. I don't know that anybody's 100% healthy, but you hope certainly that they can keep this up because, knock on wood, so far so good. Jeremy Sagely, happy Wednesday, so ready for Friday. Okay. Quentin Breakbill, Gary Atchison, what's going on? Hey, Dad, good morning. Mindy Mendenhall, good morning. Where are we? Yo, do me a favor, please smash that like button if you would. If you're there on YouTube, subscribe up to the channel.
Smash that like button.
Facebook, please like the Matt Moscone page, share the post. We appreciate y'all being here. Damon Gilmore, good morning. HBK, love all the way from Winnipeg, Canada. Okay. You hearing Colin to Texas sad. Talk about Colin Simmons. So Colin Simmons is set to make his announcement tomorrow. He's the number one edge in the country. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. I can't tell you that I've had any conversations whatsoever with Colin Simmons, his family, whatever. The conversations I have had, I think people feel good, but at the same time, I've never talked to a coach that was like, yeah, we did a terrible job recruiting. No chance to get that guy. You know what I mean? They feel good about their recruiting pitch and how they put their best foot forward and all that. So you wait and see what the kid will do. And then ultimately, even wherever he commits tomorrow, can't sign until November. So you can always keep recruiting him. But anyway, I know last week both Shea Dixon and Billy Embody put in their prediction for LSU, and those guys are as good as it gets, covering LSU recruiting. DeRoderick Woods, let's see. Do we get McKinley? Who's better, Mac or Black? I don't know. I mean, Dominic McKinley's the defensive lineman out of Acadiana, the number one player in the state. I think it's a good sign that after McKinley and Simmons both visited LSU, they set their commitment dates. But I can't tell you that I've seen any of these guys play high school. I'm not evaluating high school tape to tell you. I mean, here the point I've made here, like Kamorian Pimpton was a tight end that was committed to Vanderbilt, had no other offers. LSU got in on him, get him to commit. I mean, he looks awesome out there right now. Deshaun Womack was a 5-star who really is struggling to transition up against big SEC offensive linemen. So it's not to say he won't have a great career, or we should overreact to Pimpton after 5 practices, but sometimes you just he's wait and see, man. Brian Wynn, Wendell Norman, Tiger Diver, are the defensive backs any better the last few practices? Yesterday, when we watched the 2-minute offense, it was better when we watched 2-minute offense yesterday. Kyron Lacey had a beautiful catch on the sideline. Both Daniels and Nussmeier threw balls in their 2-minute sessions that should have been intercepted. Daniels threw one right in Andre Sam's breadbasket, and he dropped it. And then Nussmeier threw one that Matthew Langlois dropped. Those are the kind of plays that sometimes stand out. So, I mean, yeah. I think yesterday was I would still give the day to the offense, but of the periods we got to see anyway, to clarify. But yeah, I mean, yesterday was better. Let's see. Hey, Rebecca Claire, good morning. Hope you and the family are doing great. JT10. Morning, Matt. Do you believe the side conversation Brian Kelly had with Harold Perkins after the brawl was about NIL? LOL. No, it was not about that. Although it was great that he mentioned by name the John Deere NIL, because that's a new AFR sponsor, which is Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Basically, Sunshine Equipment has 17 locations. Draw a line at Alexandria and South. If you buy a John Deere, you're buying it from Sunshine. They're the John Deere dealer in Louisiana. So we did a deal with them to be our Tuesday title sponsor, and it just so happened yesterday, of course, was Tuesday, and so funny that Brian Kelly at the press conference is mentioning the John Deere sponsorship for Will Campbell and Emory Jones by name. And incidentally, it was Harold Perkins who did the first John Deere sponsorship last year. So anyway. Cameron Cason, good morning. Jared Espry, good morning. One of my funniest moments is when you were on AFR and you said, "Hi, I'm Matt Moscona. Stay positive. Have a great day." When did I say that? I mean, I feel like I would introduce myself every day, but when did I'm glad you liked it, Jared. I don't really remember what specifically you're talking about, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you for listening. Brian Broom, good morning. Earl Joseph Lytle, good morning. Been a minute. Losing Bar Stings, Pro Bowl player, need depth at linebacker. Aaron Hornsby, what's going on? Now, I didn't see that Barr signed anywhere. Just that he was going to take other visits. Like, that was the news, was that that the visit went great. Here it was. It was from Josina Anderson. Barr passed his physical, but said he wanted to visit more teams before making a decision. He's targeting the Giants for his next visit. So that's not dead, but want to take more visits. Jason Horn is at Matt Shuffle time. You know what, Jason? Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find.
When you need a roof, call someone you know. Scone, Ontario.
All you need is HUD
Call Hardco Roofing.
364.
1007.
School bus out there. How about that? Kiddos are heading back to school. School bus just passed in front of the house. Happy school year to all those. Today's E-Rock's first day of school over at St. Jude today. So happy school year to all the kiddos. Hope it's a great start to the school year. Brian Wynn, Matt, do you think playing a week 0 game against a directional school is a better way to start the season to get the kinks out before taking on a top 10 team? Brian, no, I don't. I mean, like, do I think Florida State playing Duquesne last year and LSU not having a game helped Florida State? Yes, I do think that. I also watched LSU not lose an opener for 15 years, and that was a lot of games against Power 5 teams. A lot of them at neutral sites or on the road. So, and they never had a week 0 game. So I think it's just prepare, play well, and we don't talk about this. I think the fact that LSU's lost 3 consecutive openers makes you start to wonder and have that conversation. But I also think 2020 is an outlier because Bo Pelini was a disaster. 2021, Ed Ogeron was done. You had no business losing that game. Yeah, if you're better coached, you win that game. And then last year, that was a team that was in full-on transition and played a terrible football game. And as the season went along, they kept getting better and better and better, and probably would have benefited from a week 0 game. This team, I don't think needs a week 0 game. Perkins for Heisman. Matt, do you think the secondary will be ready by the season? Are you concerned with that group, better or worse than last year? What you had last year was a lot of guys who had played a lot of football at the Power 5 level. Jark Bernard Converse may not have been a superstar talent, but he played in 50 games. It was all Big 12. Joe Fouché may not have been a superstar talent, but he was a 4-year starter at Arkansas, right? Greg Brooks came in and played a ton of ball. So you lose those guys, and I think the ones you brought in probably have more physical ability than those guys. But somebody got to step up. So do I think they'll be ready for the season? I don't think it really matters if they're ready or not. You don't have a choice. You got to be ready to go. But one thing I'll say that you don't necessarily get to see when it's situational practice is what's the effect like of a pass rush and then situational down and distance. So like if we were watching LSU run 7-on-7s or cornerback receiver 1-on-1 drills on the outside, that's a very different reality than 3rd and 12. The pass is coming and LSU blitzes Harold Perkins and the quarterback has to roll and just throw it away. You know what I mean? Or force a bad pass. So sometimes a good front 7 will help. I mean, your defense should work in a symbiotic manner. Your pass rush should help the secondary. Your secondary should help the pass rush, sort of thing. So listen, the receivers have had an upper hand. Like, there's no denying that. I also think LSU's receivers are really, really good. So, I'm just not going to overreact to it because you're still 5 days in. Let's see what it looks like when they put on full pads and when they go out there, and they're going to have a couple of scrimmages in Tiger Stadium. One of them we're going to get to watch. So let me see what that looks like. Hunter Broadhead, good morning. Bailey C, what's more likely? LSU wins the SEC or the Saints going 6-11? LSU winning the SEC. Jeff Hawk, good morning. What's going on, man? Been a minute. Glad to see you here. Barry Jocelyn, do you think this offense is going to be close to potency of 2019, 40 or 50? No, come on, man. I mean, so Barry, it's funny. I was talking to Chuck Oliver. I was on Chuck Oliver's show Monday. And for some reason, that came up about people comparing LSU to 20. Is this going to be the next Burrow, the next whatever? Oh, I know why it was. I said I thought Jaden Daniels will have the second best passing total in LSU history. I think he'll throw for 4,000 yards. Burrow threw for 5,600. And Chuck was like, I think it's an important distinction just to say the second best, and that's all you're going to try for. So we got into this conversation about how you've got to understand what 2019 was. Like, it was literally the greatest offense we've ever seen in college football. So you're never going to replicate that. Like, to be 2019, you're going to have to be the greatest offense in college football again. And you're not going to be that. That doesn't mean you can't be great and win a lot of games in all of your games. But you got to stop comparing to 2019. Like, so Tennessee led college football last year at 46 points a game. Ohio State was at 44. USC at 41. Bama at 41. Georgia 41. Michigan 40. Washington 39. UCLA 39. TCU 38. LSU averaged 34 points a game last year. Like, now, I'm not as super impressed with that as I would be looking at just conference games. When you take out your non-conference blowouts. LSU beat Southern 65-17. You scored 63 on Purdue. But, like, can you score 34, 35 a game again this year? Yeah. If you're scoring 35 a game on average and you're allowing 15 a game or less on average, you can be pretty good. Jeff McKithen, good morning. Let's see a couple more. Will Hildebrand, I'm here to chew bubble gum and make snarky comments, and I'm all out of gum. Hashtag roof wrap. Okay. Marine Sniper 42, been in Georgia for about 20 years. Interesting, corresponding with Georgia fans. And now them threatening to three-peat. I've never been dealt the lip service. Can you comment on the right era versus BK now? I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, man. So can you re-ask it? Can you comment on the right era versus BK now? All right. Brian Penn, good morning. Solar Flares. What's up? Matt Plavidal. Saw someone online mention Billy thinks Simmons will pick Texas. Maybe he flipped his pick. Billy, I don't know. Jamie Hodges, Zachary Snyder. How about the Grand Slam from Cruz? Oh, I didn't know he had a Grand Slam yesterday. That's great. I'm telling y'all, when fall camp starts, it's kind of an avalanche. You basically go into a hole for a month with fall camp. It's all you do. Zachary Snyder, Will Hildebrand, Peyton Morvant. You think it would ever be possible Tulane joins the SEC? Nope. Literally no chance at all ever. They were in the SEC and left, and they will never join the SEC. I'll elaborate a little more, Peyton, for you. So remember, it's not about you have a consistent team in the poll. Like it has nothing to do with that. It is a money play. Remember, like you have to remember this. Every year, the SEC has those big payouts. Every league has their big payouts to their conference, right? So every member of the league and the league office splits the pot evenly. So all the money, all the TV money goes into one pot. All the bowl payouts goes into one pot. All the rev shares from the NCAA men's basketball tournament, one pot. All the money that they make from the SEC football championship game, one pot. Basketball tournament, gymnastics championship meet, women's basketball tournament, all of it, one pot. All the revenue goes into one pot, okay? And at the end of the year, they look at all the revenue and they go, okay, we're going to split this 15 ways. Every member of the league gets a share and the league office gets a share, 15 ways evenly. Now that's going to go up to 17 ways because you're adding Texas and Oklahoma. The only way you add a team is if they grow the pot enough to where everybody's share gets bigger. Tulane doesn't move the needle. They're in New Orleans, but New Orleans ain't a Tulane town. They don't have a brand that has mass national appeal. They play in an 18,000 seat stadium, man. Like, no, there's literally no way ever that Tulane would be in the SEC. Tulane is going to be one of the schools, like the ones that I mentioned, the G5, that are going to be left out whenever college football continues down this path of its one college football. So, so no, Tulane will never be in the SEC again. No. Richt. Oh, so Brian Kelly against like Mark Richt at Georgia. Man, that's hard to say because this is only Kelly's second year. And Mark Richt was at Georgia for almost 20 years. Mark Richt, I think Mark Richt's first year there was Mark Richt was the OC on Florida State's 2000 national championship, right? And then he went to Georgia in 01. So he was there from 01 to 15. So 15 seasons for Mark Richt at Georgia. And I know the thing was he just never got over the hump, right? Like he won a lot of games. Let's see, Richt was 145 and 51 at Georgia, 83 and 37 in the SEC. Yeah, he won 2 SEC titles, 02 and 05. His second year, they won the SEC and won the Sugar Bowl. Sure. Look, if we could, I tell you what, we could look back in hindsight if Brian Kelly wins a lot of games at LSU but never gets over the hump. We could look back in hindsight and say, yeah, their careers are similar. If you're trying to compare Mark Richt at Georgia to Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, the massive difference, like the colossal difference, is resources. You're seeing now with what Kirby's doing, the resources Georgia has always had. So you can look at Georgia not winning a championship for 40 years and going, man, you underachieved for a long time. And they did. My contention is Notre Dame can't win a championship anymore. Unless if they're willing, as they're currently structured, unless if they're willing to alter the way they go about allowing their coach to build their program, meaning you make certain academic concessions. I'm not saying let in a guy with a 1.8 GPA, but if you're looking for all honors, basically the type of academic student that you're allowing into Notre Dame that also has to be an elite college football player, you're shrinking the pool. So I don't think it's what and what comparing what Brian Kelly did at Notre Dame to Mark Richt, because Richt had more resources. Now, if Kelly stays at LSU for this 10-year stretch and wins 9-10 games every year and never gets over the hump, then yes, we can have that conversation. Anthony Court, Brian Kelly will get us to a national championship. I don't see it this year. Defensive backs are a concern. Special teams need to show big improvement. What I would say to that is that every team has some question. I would say, what I always say is, who has the fewest questions against the most manageable schedule? I think LSU checks that box. And do you trust your coaches to win the 50-50 games and keep your team improving throughout the year? I would say yes. So, yeah, I don't see any reason why LSU couldn't win the national championship this year. I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying you're like saying definitively LSU's winning a natty, but they are certainly one of a handful of teams that legitimately could do it this year. All right, y'all. The question is really, how do you view legacy of LSU against Georgia? It seems everyone views 2019 as lightning in a bottle instead of Tigers having been relevant for years. I mean, if you're viewing LSU 2019 as lightning in a bottle, like in terms of Ed Ogeron's career, that's true. But LSU, since 2003, has won 3 national titles and played for a 4th. The only team in that stretch that's won more national titles than LSU is Alabama. So to argue that LSU's success in 2019 was lightning in a bottle is kind of dumb. Because 3 different head coaches have won championships. The last 3 head coaches have all won championships now. So, all right, I think we're done. Y'all do me a favor, smash that like button if you would. If you're new, subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, please like the page, share the post. Trey Fisher, what's good, man? Vernell Thomas, what's going on? Last one, who do you think we're really going to end up getting for a linebacker position? Why did they bring Hunt? Just let him walk out the door. I don't think they brought in Hunt to let him walk out the door. I think they wanted to sign him. But the report from Diana Rossini was that Indy called Kareem Hunt before he even started his visit with the Saints and offered him more money. So, I mean, the Jonathan Taylor situation there, you understand why the Colts are a little more desperate. So it might even be a better situation for Hunt. So we'll see. And they may still end up getting Anthony Barr. He said the visit was great. He just wanted to take more visits. So he's got the Giants next. It may be a situation for now where you have a veteran player like that who doesn't want to go through camp. So, hey, let me fly around for a few weeks, taking a lot of visits, miss training camp, and then show up a couple weeks before, maybe the final preseason game, and then the game week. No, maybe. Okay, we're done. I gotta bounce. Thanks so much for watching. The past 2 days I've been posting LSU Daily at night to get you the practice report from that day. So there's an LSU Daily that posted last night with yesterday's full practice report and everything. I am going to drop another episode this morning, though, that's sort of like an update on the running back situation and the cornerback situation with comments from Brian Kelly Tuesday about those positions in particular. So, all right, thanks for watching. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you. Peace.